Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Dunswell Zoo. I hope you've all been well. By now, Eastlake episode 1 should have gone out on the channel. And the last episode of Dunswell Zoo, we finished the Jaguar complex. This episode, we are starting a brand new area of Dunswell Zoo. And we're going to be building in Asia. Well, we're going to be building for Asia, technically, not in Asia. So we've got our sort of quintessential panda and sort of Asian style architecture. And the view you get before you descend the ramp. Got a little statue there. Do need to adjust that slightly. It's floating just a smidge. Something like that. There we go. The railing does need redoing. Don't worry about that. I'm aware that the railing is like head height here, rather than as it should be here, where it's at hand height. I will adjust the railing. Do not worry about that. But we head down for Asia. So we head down, and the Australia house very slowly disappears behind this tall bamboo. And suddenly you find yourself completely immersed in a different area of Dunswell Zoo. Got this little Asian sort of bamboo planter thing. Again, here, even where you can see like the food court, your immersion's still very much within Asia. Like, this doesn't take you out of Asia at all, which I really like. I really want it to feel like you're in a part of Asia. And then the bamboo breaks. And here's Frank ready to meet us. And we have our first two habitats. So we're starting with the Himalayan Heights area. You can see we've actually just passed under the monorail there. The monorail, of course, coming from the Australia. Well, no, it comes from the entrance plaza. Through part of Australasia technically, across Africa, and then into Asia, and then we have our first stop just next to the Expedition Ecuador, but that's going to be the Red Panda Plaza. But we're building for one species today, which is going to be this one on the right, and it's a Himalayan species. They all are going to be Himalayan species for the next sort of, I don't know, let me have a quick look. How many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The next 9 episodes. No, 8 episodes, 9 animals, sorry. The next 8 episodes are just going to be Himalayan, because we're building the Himalayan Heights area in the Asian section of Dunswell Zoo. And this is obviously where the Red Panda Plaza. And again, we've got bamboo on the left to sort of complete that immersion. And then you get to South America, just in case you're wondering whereabouts we are. This is the coati and the anteater habitat, which we haven't been to for a while, actually. I don't think any of them are trotting about. Doesn't look like it. Probably all asleep. Don't blame them. And then we have our 2 female anteaters in this one. Again, can't... Oh, there they are. There's one. One at the back there. I've got it in pause at the moment. And there's the other one up at the front here. Yeah, I've got it in pause at the moment just because I don't want notifications popping off every, like, 5 minutes. So yeah, this is what we're going to be working on for the next sort of 2 months. Is the Red Panda Plaza and the Himalayan Heights area of Dunswell Zoo. So what is going to be the first animal we build for? Well, if I just head out, we're going to be building for the wild yak. Now, I have a idea in mind for how this habitat's going to work. I hope I'm able to pull it off. We shall see. However, the wild yak mod, I still have it it has actually been pulled from the Nexus page. The creator wasn't happy with it, so they've shelved it for now, but I still have it. I'm hoping it doesn't crash the game or anything like that, but we'll have to see. So it might be that for now we just put the wild yak in until it gets the upgrade that the creator wants. I can't remember who created this mod actually. It might have been Narwhaler. I'm not 100% sure. But it is vulnerable, the wild yak, and they are much bigger than they appear to be. So the habitat needs to reflect that. 1 male and 9 females. So if we go for the full 1 male, 9 females, they need 800 meters squared, and they can have 1 juvenile at a time. So let's say all 9. So 1025 meters squared, and let's see what we're working with at the moment. So they needed 1025, and here they've got 2092. So when you take into account the navigable land area and then the guest viewing and the shelter space, they will have enough room. So I think without any further delay, let's get stuck into building for the wild yak. So here we are in the speed build, my friends, and I hope you've enjoyed everything so far. So we're just starting with this rustic stone from the European pack, and we're just changing the colours to make it a bit darker, a bit more gloomy, I guess would be the right word. I just wanted it to look a bit more Himalayan than it did European. Unfortunately, I had to do every sort of different piece individually, whereas usually you can just sort of set the colour for one, and then each time you copy it and put a new piece in, it just copies it. So I'm not entirely sure what was happening there, but it didn't delay things too much. So why the wild yak? So wild yak aren't kept in captivity anywhere. Domestic yak are, but wild yak no. The reason why I wanted wild yak is the conservation value. They need more awareness and more funding and more conservation than the domestic yak. So I wanted to provide them a home and have some ambassador animals where they're able to educate the public on the plight of the wild yak. This shelter we're building now, it gets expanded a bit. It is quite small. We don't go for the maximum amount of animals. We end up having, I think it's 3 females and 1 male, rather than the full sort of 9 females and 1 male. The reason being, these animals are massive. They're huge. I didn't realise quite how big they were, in all honesty. And they are absolutely massive. And they make the habitat look small, so I didn't want to overcrowd the habitat. So we're stuck with 3 females and 1 male, which isn't so bad. You know, we can still have a breeding program with those numbers. We just need to be really sort of careful about how frequently they're breeding. And depending on sort of future plans as far as the Africa section's concerned, depending how much room the entrance to Africa takes up, we might actually be able to expand the wild yak habitat a little bit, just so we can have a few more individuals in there and make sure the habitat doesn't look as small as it does at the moment. Because it still looks really small, even reducing the number of yak that are in there. So what can I tell you about the wild yak? They are vulnerable, unfortunately, and they are found in the Tibetan and Western Qinghai, I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly, areas. Some populations are also found in Xinjiang and Ladakh in India, and there are also small isolated populations further afield in western Tibet and eastern Qinghai. Yaks were also found in Bhutan, but they are now considered to be extinct there. The primary habitat of yaks is treeless uplands dominated by mountains and plateaus. They are most commonly found in alpine tundras with thick carpets of grasses and sedges. And we reflect that in the habitat build. There's only one tree in the habitat, and that's the enrichment tree, the scratching tree. So wild yak is one of the largest bovid species still alive today. So adults can stand up to 6.7 foot tall at the shoulder, which is taller than me. And they can weigh between sort of 1,100 and 2,600 pounds, which is 500 to 1,200 kilos. The head and the body can be 2.4 to 3.8 meters, which is 7.9 foot to 12 foot, which doesn't include the tail, which can range between 60 to 100 centimeters. Females are about 1/3 of the weight and 30% smaller than the males. Domesticated yaks are considerably smaller, but wild yaks are really sort of stocky animals, really heavily built, and they are protected against the cold. Udders are present in females, and of course the male reproductive parts are present in the males. Both of them are quite small and they're covered in a layer of hair. They have long shaggy hair which has a dense woolly undercoat, and that's actually part of the reason why they're vulnerable, because they're poached for their fur, unfortunately. And they also have a long skirt that can reach the floor. This extends from sort of like the flanks and the thighs for extra insulation. The tail is more horse-like than it is sort of cattle or bison-like. They're typically sort of black or dark brown. They have a grey muzzle, although some golden brown individuals have been reported. Wild yaks with gold-coloured hair are known as the wild golden yak, and these are considered as an endangered subspecies in China, with an estimated population of 170, so even rarer. The wild yak is obviously currently listed as vulnerable. It was previously classified as endangered, but it was downlisted rather, in 1996 based on the estimated rate of population decline. The latest assessment in 2008 suggested a total population of no more than 10,000 mature individuals. The wild yak experiences threats from several areas. Poaching, including commercial poaching. Males are particularly impacted because of their more solitary habits. Interbreeding with livestock herds is also common. This can include sort of normal cattle as well as domesticated yak, which poses some issues. Transmission of cattle-borne diseases, conflicts with herders, preventative and retaliatory killings for abduction of domesticated yaks. There are protections from poaching, and this has stabilised populations in some areas. And in both China and India, the species is officially protected, and in China it is present in a number of large nature reserves. But there are none in captivity, unfortunately. So the population that's out there now is sort of it. There isn't another population in captivity, which is really unfortunate, because if something does go disastrously wrong, which it can do, we will probably lose these animals forever, which is really sad, especially when you think, well, when you hopefully see one day, the pure size difference between the domesticated yak and the wild yak. It's just absolutely mind-boggling that these two animals are both yaks and yet they are so different in size. It's just absolutely bizarre. As for what's happening on screen, we've put a tundra wall in the back, made from tundra rock, and we've put some sort of Himalayan, sort of Asian alpine trees in at the back, just to tie the theming in a little bit, and make the habitat look a bit more natural. Of course, the actual habitat itself, there are no trees within the habitat other than that scratching tree, which is the enrichment. At the door here, I do have to remove, so you're going to see me put it in and build it really intricately. I just have to remove it. The yaks can't navigate through the gap when the door is sort of in an open position. I really underestimated the size of the yak here, so that one's on me. So yeah, looking forward to what lies ahead with the Himalayan section, Himalayan heights. So we've got 2 habitats so far. So there's the wild yak, and then next time there's another one. And then after that we'll move on to the Red Panda Plaza, which is going to be sort of the monorail station, food and drink, conservation station, things like that. And then after that we move back onto the animals. So things like the red panda, the snow leopard, the Himalayan brown bear. What other animals am I having? Do we have a takin? We don't have a takin. We have a goral, the dole, Pallas's cat. So yeah, I'm looking forward to building something different, considering we spent a lot of time in South America and using those temple pieces, which I love, don't get me wrong, but it does get a little bit samey. And of course we've finished the Australasia section. So we're now focusing on Asia and South America, and then when South America's done, it'll be Asia and Africa. So just putting some of these darker tundra rocks in. The other ones were tiger, my mistake. These ones are tundra rocks, just to add a little bit of colour diversity in there, so it's not so light. And yaks like long grasslands, and sort of thick carpet planting. So I keep the planting really light in this habitat, sort of as minimal as possible, but still sort of relatively interesting. There are a few little bits and bobs that I'm not too happy with, but I can tweak that anytime really. It's not a major concern. And then just putting these education boards in, which you've seen before, and then I reckon we'll be back to the live section. Quite a short one, this one, but it is a relatively simple, straightforward habitat. So I shall leave you all to it, methinks. Oh yes, this. So I'm putting some little statues in. This one's not Himalayan themed, it's just Asian in general. Hopefully we get some more statues further down the line, because there's one glaring inconsistency with the statues that I use here. So we've got an orangutan, we've got a pangolin, we've got a giant panda, even though pandas aren't going in this zoo. We've got a macaque, and then I want a red panda, and we don't have the reward statue for a red panda. And we don't have any concrete statues for the red panda, so I have to use one of these, and it's just glaringly obvious that it doesn't belong there. You can change the colours of the peacock statue, so that one sort of blends in a little bit more. But the red panda just stands out like a sore thumb. So yeah, I think this is probably it now, so I will see you all in that live section in just a few seconds. So welcome to the live section, my friends, and I hope you enjoyed the speed build. Bit of a shorter episode this one, just as we're getting into the flow of things. You don't want a massive exhibit right at the start of a new zone. You want to build your way up, start with the smaller things. So I've redone the ramp as best as I can at the moment without completely redoing the terrain. And we just got this little bit what's sticking out here, but I can live with that. And obviously here it's like really close to the plaster, and then further down there's like a massive gap. But I can live with that. We can deal with that later. As we descend into this new area, I've put the curbing in, and we've got the bamboo planting, of course. I've introduced some trees just to sort of begin the seasoning, if you like, of the Himalayan area. Over on the left here, we've got some statues of Asian animals, not exclusively Himalayan, just Asian. I do need to move that one in a little bit. But we've got the Chinese pangolin, the Bornean orangutan, the giant panda, the Indian peafowl, the red panda, and the Japanese macaque. It'd be nice if we could get a red panda statue in the style of the reward statues. And there's just this little pool with some lily pads in it, just something ornamental. And then the next thing what's changed is, since the speed build, these have gone up. So this one actually covers a support for the monorail. This one doesn't, but because that's slightly on the path, I then had to do this one slightly on the path as well. It looks pretty good actually, I quite like it. It blends into the area quite nicely. And then we have our sign, Himalayan Heights. So obviously in the speed build it was here where this Korean pine tree is. Putting this in sort of blocked the view of the sign, and because of the direction of the sun and stuff, you couldn't really see it when it was over that side. So put it over this side in the shade, and you can see it's much better now. So Himalayan Heights. So we're of course building for the wild yak in this episode. This is the next episode. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. And then from there we'll move on through other animals. But not all the animals in the Himalayan zone are on this sign. There are 2 missing. I just felt the sign had enough sort of on there. I might change the snow leopard silhouette. It's probably the most difficult one to see. So I might just change that, make it a bit darker. But I like it nonetheless. And then of course we have our wild yak habitat. So we've got Frank here, just looking over them. And we do only have 4. We have 1 male and 3 females. They are very big animals. Very big animals. The habitat actually seems quite small for them, and I may expand it a little bit when we get into Africa, depending how much room we've got left over there. But yeah, they're big animals. So you can see them here. They're just the massive animals. I didn't realise until like doing the research for this habitat that they were actually so big. And yeah, I'm relatively happy with how the habitat turned out actually, just sort of the size. And they're like areas that don't have trees, sort of open grassy plains, things like that. So that's exactly what I've given them, open grassy plains. There's a few bushes just to sort of break it up and some rocks, but because they're such big and powerful animals, you don't want people getting too close. So this is sort of the closest they can get. Which still offers really good views, to be fair. Just look at that. Yeah, I really like it. I had to remove the door because they couldn't fit through. So it is without a door at the moment. They're pretty hardy animals. It's just for sort of safety reasons that they'd need a door there. So if keepers needed to access the outside, they could shut the yak inside. That'll be something I'll probably work on between now and the next episode. I'm not in a rush for it, really. But there's our yak, our wild yak. They are vulnerable. We got our donation bins as well. So I've created some of the usual things. So Asia's wild yaks are vulnerable to extinction. We're helping local communities and farmers provide better defences to keep livestock and wild yaks separate. We're also protecting and restoring vital habitat to help keep these magnificent but overlooked creatures safe and ensure they have a bright future ahead of them. We can't do this without your support, however. By making a donation or adopting a wild yak from the nearest conservation station, you're helping us to carry out vital work and actively contributing to the protection of this wonderful bovine. And yeah, the yaks can come all the way down here if they want to. I've never seen them all the way down here. And then we've just got a bit more education down at the bottom here, which is know your yaks. So the domestic yak's a bit difficult to see on this one, so again I might need to go in and change the colours. The human, the same story, it's a bit difficult to see. But the wild yak you can see perfectly fine. But did you know wild yaks are vulnerable due to poaching, interbreeding with domestic yak, commercial poaching, cattle-borne diseases from domestic cattle, conflict with herders, and climate change? So you can see on the left, hopefully, domestic yak is probably about, from its shoulder, probably just below shoulder height for the human here. Obviously this is an average human height. Whereas the wild yak, the shoulder is like, that's got to be 6'2", 6'3", something like that. About my height really for the shoulder, which is a massive animal. It's absolutely huge. But I'm really happy we've got them. Hopefully we'll get some breeding. I don't want to breed too much though, because I do think the habitat could be a little bit bigger, just because they are such big animals, and we do want to breed them, of course. I'd like to give them some more space, even though as far as Planet Zoo is concerned, this is enough space for them. You know what I'm like, I'd like to give them as much room as possible. So that is the wild yak, my friends. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed this content and would like to see more content from Planet Zoo, because I do Planet Zoo content pretty much exclusively on this channel. Well, it is exclusively on this channel, actually. You can find me on Instagram at JW_YT, and ignore the yak coming through the wall. And you can also find me on my wildlife photography site, which is at JW_wildlife photography. Until the next time, my friends, stay safe, stay kind. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye bye for now.